Hi folks, and welcome to this second segment of the special Charlie's Angle series on the increasing cost and margin compression in the green industry. This segment we're going to focus on labor because, as I indicated in segment one, labor has been the primary component of the overall cost structure that has increased the most. And so we need to pay attention to that the most rather than any other cost component. Not that the rest of them aren't important, but we need to focus in on labor. And there's really two sides of that labor issue that we need to address. And the first is the labor availability issue. Now, in the original report, I report that there are many firms across the country that, as I've visited with them, that recount the fact that sometimes they've had to employ maybe 4 or 5 people just to have one that sticks around long enough. And sometimes they hire people and they're gone before lunchtime. So labor availability has been one of those issues. And of course, it's not going to get any better anytime soon. And we can blame that on economic growth. You may recall back in the recession, we didn't have that issue because there were so many hundreds of thousands of construction workers that were unemployed. And so we didn't have a difficulty in finding eligible employees. However, that boat has left the dock. Now we're in a situation where we're having to compete fairly heavily with the housing industry and other construction sectors for those employees. So we're seeing, on average, about 170,000 jobs being created each month. And that's, of course, that's net of quits and hires and other reasons for separation, layoffs, and retirements, and so forth. So that's a net figure, about 170,000 plus or minus a few thousand each month. So that's actually fairly good. That's continued in from the Obama administration to the first year of President Trump's administration. We've had roughly that number of jobs being created. So that's going to continue, which means that we're going to be creating jobs for the limited number of people that are available for jobs. In fact, right now there are about 6 million jobs listed just on the jobs report of those openings that are available for folks to fill. That's not even including folks like yourself that probably have a few positions that you could hire people in right now. It's just you don't have enough people to be able to put in those positions, enough people coming around wanting to be hired. In fact, it's probably to the tune of about 30 million jobs or 30 million people that we need to fill those jobs across the country, right? Not just in the green industry, but across other industries. And of course, demographics is also playing a role here because the baby boomers are retiring to the tune of, on average, 10,000 a day. You take 78 million baby boomers over a 19-year retirement horizon, and you do the math, and it comes out about 10,000 averaging each day retiring. And there's just not enough Gen Xers to fill the void there. And of course, millennials are entering the job market. They have been for a while now, but the majority of them have not entered. And so over time, we will see a little bit of relief in terms of the number of people that are going to be wanting jobs, but we got to get there, right? So in the interim, we're going to see a shortage in supply and bar any changes in immigration, right? That's always a possibility. Seems like a remote possibility at this point. But barring any changes in immigration, then we're going to continue to see a tightening of supply just because of the factors that I just addressed. That means that the price is probably going to be driven even higher than what it has been. So that brings me to the other side of the coin. That's the cost of labor. And of course, in the first segment, I said that of all those cost components that have been leading up to that 21.7% increase in cost relative to where we were back in 2007, labor has been the primary component that's increased the most. In fact, labor is 31.4% more expensive today than it was prior to the recession. So we've seen a lot of increases across the country. We've seen some regional differences, but basically, by and large, across the country, labor costs have increased. And that's because of two things. We've had increases in minimum wage, and then also increases in what's called the adverse effect wage rate, which is what H-2A labor is paid. So on the minimum wage side, though, we already have 30 states that have a state minimum wage that's higher than the federal minimum wage of $7.25. And of course, the adverse effect wage rate for many states, like in Texas, I think it's $11.59. That's a lot higher than $7.25, which is the federally mandated minimum wage. So we're going to continue to see those two things act as an increase, or act in a way that's going to increase wages, right? So we have several states across the country, California, for example, Washington State, that has already implemented increases in their state minimum wage up to $15 an hour. So that alone is going to cause an increase even in the adverse effect wage rate. So those combined are going to basically continue increasing that wage rate to the point where we're going to continue seeing that cost price squeeze, decreasing net income for firms at large, not just in the green industry. And of course, the flip side of that is it's going to put a lot of attention into automation and mechanization. So it may actually cost jobs in the long run because of this wage pressure. We'll see how that plays out. Bottom line, the demand for labor is going to continue to increase until the next downturn. And of course, that's a completely different Charlie's Angle segment that I'll do later in terms of the first of the year and the economic outlook for 2018. But we're going to see the demand for labor increase in 2018. The supply of labor will increase, but more slowly. So when those two factors combined, we're going to continue seeing this index for labor increasing over time. So instead of being 31.4%, it's likely to go much higher than that. How much higher? Time will tell. And it depends on again, immigration policy, depends on the number of millennials entering the workforce. It depends on a number of those factors. But bottom line, we don't expect a lot of relief in this cost of labor in the short run. All right, in my next Charlie's Angle segment, I'll focus in on energy and the role it plays, not only in terms of energy, but also fertilizers. So stay tuned for that.